Hello, I'm Hayden.Bloomfield and welcome to the channel. So I'm a uni dropout and this is my story. Whether you've been to university before, are thinking of going to uni, or at uni, this is just a fresh perspective, maybe a bit of entertainment as to why and how I became a university dropout. If you are thinking of university, this may be a fresh perspective or just something to consider when you're putting an application in of what could potentially happen. And this is not to say this applies to all universities or all students. I'd say my case is very rare. The fact that this actually happened to me at uni, I'd say university for most people is better. Some people have it worse, but in terms of how this could happen to something external, then yeah, this is a pretty rare case. I'd like to think this never happens at uni. Ever. To take you back, I started at uni in 2014, which now I think about, when I was like taking notes on this, I wrote down like the years when I started college, or I was like pondering like when I started college, which meant I went into uni, and I was like 2014, and I'm just like, no, surely not. Like 2014 was years ago. How old am I? And then I had to realise the truth of like, yeah, I went to uni 7 years ago, so yeah, 2014 I started university. Now I feel old. Anyway, I studied fine art, which maybe that comes across in the fact I create content, but doesn't really relate to business or the fact I had a garden business or have a garden business. This all came about from like not birth, but from a very young age. I've always been really interested in art. I remember like even in reception, like before you start primary school, in reception, I drew a hammer. It was really good. It was a really good hammer for someone that's like 4 or 5 years old. All through my school career, art was just like this huge fascination with me. I was always, I'd say, like one of the most skilled artists or whatever within my school. There was people that had different specialties. There were, like, I'd say I was always in like the top 3, 4, 5 in the year. But as I said, it's art. It's very subjective, very creative. So there was like the guy that was better at cartoons, the girl that was better at flowers. And mine, I suppose I was always interested in drawing people, and I've always been interested, yeah, people and landscapes have always taken my interest. Painting, I was always fascinated with painting. I did my first canvas painting. I don't even know what that is. That'd be really cool if I had this for this video. I should find it. I did a canvas painting when I was like 7, 8, and it was like quite a big canvas. It was inspired by Van Gogh. So I painted sunflowers in a vase for my mum for like Mother's Day or something. Art always fascinated me, and I remember when I like started secondary school, I'd always get the special treatment because I was so interested and engaged within the class. When it came to these different projects, I was always like the one given like the new paints and the new paintbrushes because I was so engaged with it and interested. And in my spare time, like at home, I was always drawing, always painting. When I was really young, when Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man's Chest came out, I really wish I should have like looked for these art pieces and put them, although when you take a photo of an art piece or put it on like a video, it always looks really shit compared to what it does in real life. But I did portraits of Captain Jack Sparrow and Davy Jones, and this was like at the age, however long ago, it was years. I think I was primary school, or no, I think I might have been secondary school just about. But this is when I started learning about pencil work and the tones you could achieve and how to draw without actually using the lines and just using like by smudging and grading with different tones. So that's how I drew these, and I was really stoked on them at the time. All through school, I had a bit of a weird lapse time in year 8 and year 9. I had a really terrible art teacher that was like the devil as a human being. She actually told me she would disown me if she was my parent. But that's completely inappropriate for a teacher to say, but anyway, it was a good life experience. Came to my options at school. I obviously picked like double art, but I also picked triple science. I was fascinated by science, I was fascinated by art, but unfortunately the two clashed. Like generally all subjects come within art or science. English is an art, history is a science, geography is a science. So where I picked like double art and triple science, they clashed for your like year 10, 11 options, and they told me it wouldn't work. I told them it would. I just said to my school, these are the options I'm picking, make it work. And somehow they did, which kind of worked, but where I was doing double art, it meant that I had classes with people that were doing single and double art rather than just being in the class that did double art. Hope I haven't confused you yet. Through school, carried on, smashed out, loved it, got highest grades I could in secondary school, which now when I look back I'm like, how? Because some of my work was really shit. But I think what the thing was, growing older, and I think this comes more through maturing and just your mind developing, is I didn't really have the maturity to understand art and how to produce good art. I remember like in year 7 painting this piece that was just so busy. I think where I was so creative, I would try and tell these stories, and often you find this, if you look in children's artwork, like really young, even from like toddlers, artwork isn't just a case of let's draw a face, there's a story to it. I had that for so long. I feel like that carried on for me for so many years. I would always tell a story through my work and through my art, and it would progress, and that image would change and develop as I was finishing it or as I was constructing it. So like it was never really finished because I was always carrying on the story. And I remember this thing with like doing a landscape of buildings, cityscape, and that it just kept on going. And then I drew it all out, and then when it came to painting, I realised it was a pain in the ass because it was so busy. I think it looked quite interesting in the end, but it just became so busy where I just put so much in, and I was just telling this story of like this building goes here, and then there's this building, oh, it's this company that runs this, and this company that runs this, and here's all the satellites where they control, and it was just going crazy. I started getting better at that and developing, and when I went into college, so I got like good grades, and then had no idea what I wanted to do. I debated sixth form, didn't really like the idea, and then it was just someone in my art class was going to the University for the Creative Arts for a college course to do an extended diploma, and I jumped on that opportunity, realising I could just do art 5 days a week. Amazing. I really wanted to do maths though, not science. I wanted to do maths. I started my A-level maths in like year 11, so I'd already started it, so I kind of wanted to continue it. Now I sound like such a nerd. But I stick with the idea of going to art college. And I tell you what, I had the best 2 years of my life at art college. It was phenomenal. Just spending all my time either creating art or skating, just hanging out with friends. Broke as anything, didn't have any money, clothes were covered in paint, but I had the time of my life. And I think anyone in that situation could. It was just a huge journey for me, for everyone involved. The amount you learn about art, about life. That's when I discovered, because I went from an all-boys school to college, and suddenly it's like, whoa, this is different. It was really wonderful. I had some really good friends there. Friends that I don't really speak to enough. I should speak to more people more often. All through college, completely obsessed. And it got to the point, like, I remember the second year of college, like in the first year, you just experiment with different subjects within art. So fine art, graphics, 3D, fashion, had to go all of them. I always knew what I wanted to pick, and like when you go in year 2, you do this rotation and they ask you to pick your options, and you pick a first option and a second option. For my first, I picked fine art. For my second, I picked fine art. There was no alternative. I was doing fine art, and it didn't matter if the numbers didn't work out. I was doing fine art. I seem to be quite a stubborn person. I am quite stubborn. I remember I talked myself out of my first detention when I was in primary school. I think I was like 8 years old or something. I wasn't even 8. How old are you when you're in like year 2? I think I was in year 2. So I'm studying art, painting away, and I remember the final project we did was a 10-week project where it was literally just create this artwork. Create a project, and I called it Abode. So it was all around the concept of home. What is home? What does it mean to us? What does it mean to me as an individual? Where does abode exist within other people? Does abode exist within 4 walls of a home? Or is it a sense of mindset? That project, they wanted you to fill, they used to give us these square sketchbooks, and they were like, if you can fill one sketchbook and have a final piece, perfect, that's what we want to see achieved. I filled 3 sketchbooks, I had 28 paintings on boards, and I had 2 canvases that I built from scratch. I went and got the wood, the canvas, and stretched it out. These were 2 canvases, 6 foot by 4 foot, I think. One was really shit, the other one was decent. Again, I got a distinction. I loved UCA so much and was so attached to that. Just every day going in, like excited about the bus journey, excited to be there. I really wish that I was at the Rochester campus. I really wish they did fine art there, but they didn't. But just this warmth and glow. Stomach churns with butterflies and excitement, and the heart warms and your pulse starts to race of just like the sheer excitement there was in every day. I mean, there was good days, bad days, but just overall such a wonderful time. It was weird going from like school to art, just like studying art all the time. It was so laid back, it was incredible. And I'm very obsessive and will work very hard, so I just like found my flow and just got stuck into it. My final project, I would be in the studio. It opened the college at 8 and they closed it at 7. I was there from the moment the doors opened to the moment they closed of an evening. Like I was going home in the dark and the buses actually stopped running. To go home and then carry on working, carry on writing. Oh, and I got in such a flow state where I was painting all these boards, I'd have it so systematically worked out that I could actually spend half my time talking, because I would do a background on a board ready to paint. And while I'd done that, I'd already done some paintings in my sketchbook, so I was waiting for those to dry. And then by the time it's dried, I had to go and write stuff up, annotate, and theories and thoughts and artist research. And then I'd come home of an evening, get some stuff planned out, get it painted and ready, so then it's dry. So then I go in the morning, write out what I've done on the backgrounds and such, create another piece, waiting for the paint to dry, sit and chat with mates. I spent so long sitting and chatting doing nothing, or I'd be able to multitask and be like, having chats while I'm painting stuff. I even worked at college over the summer holidays, just like helping to get the place ready for the following year. I have a painting up on my course leader's wall. I wonder if he's still got it. I should check. As I said, I was at UCA, loved it, had a great time of my life, and I thought I just want to perpetuate this experience through life. Therefore, I figured what better way to do that than to just apply for UCA for the fine art degree. I did look around a couple other unis, but I didn't even bother applying. I just went with UCA. That was in Canterbury, so went into halls, started at uni. I'd spent 3 months on summer holidays, skating all the time, not doing artwork. My artwork by this point was very messy and very big. I'd do like 6 foot canvases. On the tangent of me being stubborn, I remember actually when we moved into the final project in year 2, this story is going to be all over the place. I don't expect a chronological story. But when we got our stations or workshop spaces for our final projects, they had sort of spaced out the rooms so that you could fit the students in and everything. Obviously there was like spare areas, but it was probably similar to this. Like you'd have a desk space like this big with something, and there was like 2 or 3 of us that created big pieces. And at the far end of the studio, they created, just out of like plywood sheets, they created these T's and put 2 of them in the wall so that it turned it into like, it was supposed to be 4 sections. So if you imagine you've got section 1 and 2, and then in the middle was supposed to be a space for 2 people. I jumped straight into this space for 2 people on the day that they revealed the studio had been changed around. And I was like, yep, this space works, this works for me. And my tutor was like, no, this is a space for 2 people, you need to share it. I can't really remember it that well, but I just remember being like, dude, no. I was like, I'm going to fill this up so quickly with artwork. It's going to be expanding out of this space. You're telling me this is for 2 people. And they kind of challenged me and like were debating me on it for a short while, and it didn't take very long. And I can't remember if someone actually joined me in that space for like a day or something, but quickly realised it wasn't going to work. And sure enough, by the end of it, as I said, I did 28 ball paintings and had 2 6 foot canvases. So I filled that space and then broke out of that space even further. My mate that did landscapes, more dystopian landscapes, but we used to go on like painting trips across Rochester. We'd just like get a trolley, fill it up with paints and boards, and just wheel it through the town and just pick a place we wanted to paint and then paint the landscape. It was wonderful. Work was very loose and gestural, so like from a distance it would make sense of what it is, and you go up close. I love the essence of texture within paint, so it's something that you'd want to like touch and feel and see the sensations. It's almost like if you were to lay it flat, it's just like this canyon or like rockery almost, because it was just so thick with paint. I used to use like materials naturally from the ground as well. Grass, if I had grass in a landscape, there would be grass in the painting, and there'd be berries and dirt and all sorts of mud. I used to paint with palette knives, and then when I was getting so excited, they would like snap and break, and they're just like brittle plastic anyway. So as soon as they broke, they just went into the artwork. I had paintings with like I've used obviously a lot of paint, and then when I run out of paint, I'd cut the paint tube open to like scrape the last remnants that was there. That would go into the painting once I'd used it. There's like bottle tops and paint lids and all sorts of things in this artwork. Whether it looks good or not, different question. But it was very textural. I loved the concept of just wanting to like touch paintings, and I had a lot of satisfaction of just like feeling all the lumps and bumps of it. And I thought it was wonderful how something has this picture of what it is. Like it's a portrait, there's the person, but when you go in really close, it's just, you can break down the individual colours that have been used to make up that image. As you can imagine, painting an art student but ideal student at the same time. So I jump on at uni, 3 months out of summer skating, not doing artwork. I'm completely lost. And you start uni where you finish college, where, as I said, it was like a 10-week project, and they're like, right, create a project. But we warmed up to it, we were ready. Whereas at uni, when you go in, they're like, yeah, create a project, you're like, I ain't got a clue. And there's like the odd workshop and such that you go on, of like painting workshops, canvas workshops, Photoshop workshops. But really, I just didn't have a clue. So, well, I was just so out of touch with it by then, and it's like, create a project. So I just carried on my abode project and just recycled loads of work. I found I didn't really connect at uni, I didn't bond too well. I think the issue was, in learning, I only reflected on this now, have I realised, I had set my expectations so high from what college was. I was expecting it to be like a better version of college, and like college on steroids, but it wasn't. And therefore, I don't even know if it was bad, it was just, it might have been that my expectations were so high that it wasn't college at all. And so I didn't really connect with people. I didn't find that I made as great friends, because it felt like fake, this like false presence of like this alternative universe where I've just dropped into this strange world that is no longer mine, and it's not college. And I'm like, where's all my friends from college? Why aren't they here? So that kind of played on me emotionally, mentally. But I was as well, just like coming home as often as I could. Despite the fact I was in halls, I only had like workshops and lectures on for 2.5 days a week. So I was coming home like 4 days a week, hardly ever at uni, didn't socialise with anything. I didn't go out for freshers once, didn't go out. I was like a hermit. I was locked in my room watching Simpsons, eating pizza. Did do some cool artwork though. There was some stuff I painted at uni that I'm proud of, stoked on, that went well, but a lot of it was just terrible. And I realised now, since then, more of the issues I was making. The thing of what caused me to become a university dropout is the fact that my university lost my work. The year I had was in 2 semesters, semester 1, semester 2. After semester 1, you submit all your work with the idea that if you pass, you will graduate into semester 2. You're not guaranteed a space on the second semester. I come back after the holidays, semester 2, and it turns out I failed. And I thought, how have I failed? Like, yeah, I didn't do as well as I could have, but how did I fail? What it turned out is that, bear in mind, semester 1 takes up 50% of your overall grade for the year's work. For their results, it showed that I'd only submitted like half of the work, 50% of semester 1. And so I had to go have a meeting with my course leader and such and blah, blah, blah. And was like, yeah, you haven't handed in any of this work. All these modules are missing. And I was like, well, it was all there. It was on the desk. You had to, like, when you hand in, if you've been uni, you know what it's like. Well, maybe not if you haven't done art uni. But the way it was when I was there is you had your desk space and you would go and put all your work there. And if you had anything on a computer, you put it on like a memory card. So it was all there so that the markers, graders, assessors could just take all your work, assess it, and grade you. Somehow, half of mine disappeared. I think all the information I had on the computer disappeared, which was fine. I could just email that over again. But the actual pieces of art were gone. I don't know where, unless someone else submitted them in as their own, rather than me. Went through the whole hoo-ha of like office meeting with my course leader, working out what's gone wrong, where the work is, why I didn't hand anything in, realised I did have work, blah, 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 blah. I could verify this because my course leader's or like tutors, lecturers had seen me working throughout the year. I had some photos of bits I'd done. So like, I was like sending over just like photos where I'm like taking a photo of an art piece as I do it or something and sending it to people to show. Then that's kind of what became the work I submitted. Remember my course leader, like in having like a couple of meetings and such, was just like, right, okay, sorted. Don't worry, don't panic. I'll get it sorted for you. It's not a problem now. It's resolved. Brilliant, thank you. So I carry on with semester 2. Complete semester 2, again, same thing, hand in the work. This is now your final end of year assessment, and which doesn't necessarily guarantee you a spot for the second year. You need to pass the first year in order to get into the second year. I then discover I fail because 25% of my overall work has not been submitted, therefore you can't pass them, and therefore because you haven't submitted work for that, you fail. Which the 25% all comes down to in the first semester, 50% of the work was missing. So it was the work that I'd discussed with my course leader. She had said, yep, don't worry, all sorted, no need to panic anymore. Nothing was actually done. Nothing was resolved. Nothing was fixed. None of my work was retrieved. None of the work was resubmitted or anything. It was just left. Therefore, I'd failed. I was then out of uni, and at this point was just like, bugger, what the hell do I do in my life? And this, in a future video I'm doing, I'm talking about like how you handle failures, and this just felt like a huge failure in my life, or explosion had gone off of like, what do I do now? Like my stomach was turning, my heart was aching, my brain was just like frazzled as if these needles were just like pinning into my mind of like, we're fucked. That was kind of the essence of the time. I didn't know what I was going to do. Like, did I want to fight this? And I hadn't really enjoyed uni. I hadn't really clicked, and I didn't really feel I'd bonded with the course, with my tutors, with my fellow students and such. I'd made friends, but like not to the degree that I had with college. Again, like I said, this is probably around about expectations of coming from college after having such a great time. I appeal it, obviously, and I discovered the complexities to university appeals. You appeal to your university. I think it was like I appealed to like the Canterbury campus that was managed by a group of people, whatever, and that didn't work. Then I took it to the next level where you appeal to the university as a whole, so it would have been University for the Creative Arts. That didn't work, and then I went to, there's like a government sector to help dealing with university appeals and such. And with each appeal level, it gradually gave me a better reward. I think the first appeal got me nothing. They were like, you failed. They might have said like, if you do all of this work again over the summer or like in year 2, it was something like that, or you could resit, they'd let me resit year 1, or they'd let me come into year 2, but I'd be behind and I have to catch up and all this stuff. It didn't really work. I then went into the second level of appeal, I think passed me or something and allowed me to come into year 2. I don't know, but weren't going to give me any like fees or bounce. I don't know. At the third level, but in the end, what happened was I had half my line wiped and I was passed so that I could go back. And I think now to this day, if I wanted to go back to fine art, I could do years 2 and 3 because I've got year 1. But I had half my line, so I had like £8,000 wiped off of all the debt I had, which is pretty handy. But by this point, I'd stepped away from uni. I had such this like sickening feeling towards it. I didn't feel at home there. I felt out of place. It wasn't where I wanted to be, and I didn't want to be at that campus anymore. I didn't want to be at that uni. I just kind of, my mind had exiled myself, and I was gone. I was done. What do I do with my life instead? I looked after trees for a living, but that's a whole different story. But that is how I became university dropout. And when I reflect on it, it was actually, I'm grateful that it happened because I feel like if I'd passed, I was already debating like if I wanted to go into second year. I didn't even know, but I just had this overwhelming sense of failure attached to dropping out and if I didn't carry on. And so that decision was made for me, made it a lot easier. And I was relieved of that in some essence, but I was still obviously choked up on the fact that I am a university dropout. I didn't even realise I was a uni dropout until like 5 years later. I was like over 21 when I realised I was a uni dropout. It just never occurred to me. I just didn't want to foul and not be at uni, but it's just, I remember so many stories of being in business, so many stories of like business leaders that are uni dropouts and from uni dropouts to success or whatever, and I was like, shit, that's me. I dropped out of uni. I'm a uni dropout. So that's the story of how I went to uni and became a uni dropout. I told this story and shared it with you because I just hope that if you are going through some sort of rut, or if you are at uni and having a shit time with it, or there's challenges, you're not sure if you want to continue, I just hope it can provide you with value in terms of what the options are. And I went through that. I've been there in terms of not liking uni, not wanting to be there, not knowing if this was what I should be doing or shouldn't be doing, or am I out of place here? Just know that it doesn't even matter. Like now when I think back on like 18, when you're 18 you feel like you're an adult and there's so much pressure on you to know what you want to do, and it doesn't matter. Like I'm 25 and I've just flipped what I'm doing. I thought I was going to run my garden business and that was my plan, and then that didn't become the plan and it all changed. Have faith, stay strong in the moment, and just know that any crap you go through is just an opportunity to reflect and see what you can do differently to improve on. So I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's been valuable. If it has, make sure to like, subscribe to the channel because you get plenty more videos of me diving into my own past, my own history, my own future, as well as much more around ethical wealth, sustainability, investing, trading and more. Until next one, bye.